Well, hi there. I am Cherie, your host here at the Mobile Internet Resource Center. And this is our monthly member webinar on PepLink. It's a series that we host with our friends over at Mobile Must Have. And today I am joined by Eric McCauley, founder of Mobile Must Have and our education and action partner.
Hi, Cherie. Good to see you again. I know we talk a lot, but these are always super fun.
They are. So every month we do one of these webinars on different PepLink topics. And if you go over to our PepLink Resource Center, it's at rvmobileinternet.com/PepLink-resources. You'll see a whole bunch of other articles that we have put together for you on different topics like Speed Fusion, Prime Care, and cellular band locking, and all sorts of other topics that we have covered. Today, we'll be covering data plans for PepLink routers because this is a struggle. You buy a enterprise class device, and then you go to shop for data plans, and you find that the options are not as abundant as they might be for hotspot devices or even smartphones.
Or you're just told bad information by a
carrier.
A young employee at a store who's never seen one of these things before.
So we will be going over data plan considerations for PepLink routers. The first section of this webinar recording will eventually be made available to the public. So we will be having a break point partway through before we go into some more member exclusive deeper content during this webinar. So we have structured this to have two different videos as part of our archive. So to get started is the carrier direct plans that you can get for your PepLink router. The first thing to remember is it is considered a cellular router, which is considered a data device by the carrier. So if you want a legit plan that is going to work with your router, you want to shop for data plans that are designated for use in routers. And all of the carriers do offer data plans for these sorts of devices, both on consumer, postpaid and prepaid, as well as business at present time. If you go to the article that goes along with this, and Chris, if you could put the link into this article, into the chat room, we have a guide that goes along with this video on PepLink data plans. That guide, we keep a curated list of our top pick plans that are authorized for use in PepLink routers. And you can go there and read more about the current plans. We're not going to go over the plans available today because they will probably change by tomorrow. So we want to keep this video evergreen, but you can find all of the plans there, the terms, the current pricing, how much data is included, if there's any speed caps on the plans, which you'll find in a lot of the business plans. Now, in there, you'll also see third-party reseller options. So these are plans that are not direct with the carriers, but going through a reseller. And there's a whole vendor list of those that we keep for you members that gives you pricing information that we keep that updated about every month. You'll find at the top of that list is Mobile Must Have, because Mobile Must Have does offer data plans that they are only available for the routers that they sell. And what is kind of the top warning that you would give on that, Eric?
Oh, so yeah, that's tricky. So typically the backstory of a reseller plan is you're typically dealing with an individual or an entity that has access to usually a business plan that they've had, and it's usually a plan that has plans on it that are no longer available from the carrier. So, maybe there was an unlimited plan that expired years ago and this person kept those lines active. And then once the carrier stopped offering those plans, they said, oh, I wonder if I can resell these to the public. And that's where that sort of market was born. And it's blown up into, I couldn't even tell you how many resellers there are out there. I mean, we get emails multiple times a day saying, hey, we have these plans. Would you like to buy them from us?
I think we have about 100 vendors on our list right now.
Yeah, it's wild, wild west. And I would say your 100 are probably more of the more established ones that have been doing it for a while. There's probably thousands. So I would highly caution folks against playing around with eBay or any kind of place where anyone can put a listing up for just about anything. But yeah, there are some dangers around reseller plans, and probably the primary one is that most of these plans, if you read the contract when you sign up for it as a business, says, hey, you can't resell this. So that runs risk for folks that participate in purchasing them through resellers, and that if that reseller were to have an issue or a problem with their plan, they're not really in control of being able to offer that plan to their customers. It's typically a situation where they will get shut down in a number of days, or in some cases weeks. It depends on the reseller and what their agreement is.
So if you go and look at our third-party reseller listing, we have a couple scrolls worth of disclaimers and things and warnings to go into these. And it's one of these situations where these plans will work until they don't. You just have to keep in mind that regardless of what legwork a reseller has done to acquire those plans, as legit as they may have tried to be, the end of the day, they are a third-party reseller. They are removed from the carrier themselves, and it is the carrier that is in control. They're the ones who set the terms. They're the ones who decide if a plan is going to be usable or not, or continue to be in service. And that is completely out of control of a reseller. So these options, you're going to be able to get higher bandwidth caps, more caps. Some might even say unlimited, but a lot of them are just higher caps of, few hundred gigabytes of data a month, sometimes up to, I think, 800. Sometimes you'll see the plans are. So these are a great way to get a lot of data. But if you're relying on these plans, just know going in that they can shut down at a moment's notice with little bit of warning. So have other options in mind that you might need to use. Usually they're going to work for a while until, like, one day we just see like AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile just decide they have a person inside who does an audit and just decide, oh, we're just going to shut down all these resellers that are out there, and or we're going to change the terms and decide we're doing a different plan. So
yeah, absolutely. One note I would say is if the pricing on a plan seems too good to be true, what we've found, so we'll get into Mobile Must Have a little bit, but I don't want to turn this is an educational thing, not something about us, but we're not a data reseller directly, in that we're more of an aggregator, in that we look for resellers that are reputable and we buy from resellers. So we're one level removed. And the reason why we do that is so that we can vet those resellers and provide an added layer of customer service, and not have any direct contracts or relationships with the carriers and be in violation of those contracts. But separate to that, the statement about if it's too good to be true, be careful. What we see a lot of resellers do is they claim that these are data device plans. And when we dig into them, and we have folks that we know at each carrier, so we can actually look at the plan codes and find out what they are, typically when a reseller comes to us and tells us they have something, they're oftentimes made for tablets. So we find tablet plans, which oftentimes can work in data-only devices like Peplinks, are sold as router plans. And that's just something to be aware of. If you see that price, right, sub $100, those are almost always tablet plans.
And we will be circling back to third party and picking Eric's brain more on the behind the scenes on third party resellers in the member portion of this video later. So we'll be circling back to this topic in a little bit.
Absolutely. Just be careful out there, folks.
Definitely be careful. Read all the caveats in our third party reseller guide. If you're going with one of these, just know going up front, they work until they don't. And we have been
have a backup.
We have been tracking this for years, and I have not yet seen a single reseller make it through 8 years yet. So now, one thing you will find if you're going with one of these legit carrier direct plans, so if you're getting a consumer plan, a business plan from the carriers, you take your brand new Peplink device that you've purchased, maybe it's from Mobile Must Have or another vendor, and you take it to the carrier, you say, I want to buy this plan, maybe it's the 150 gigabyte plan from Verizon, and they run the IMEI number, which is the unique serial number of the modem, and they come back and say, oh, that device isn't compatible on our network. Not true at all. What is happening is all the carriers have a database of IMEI devices, of modems for their network. And usually that database is comprised of mobile hotspot devices that have been made for that carrier. And most reps only know how to deal with those sorts of devices. So in these cases, Peplink doesn't make devices specifically for the carrier. They're not selling them through the carrier. They're selling them through vendors like Mobile Must Have, 5G Store, TechnoRV, Onboard Wireless, all these other Peplink vendors out there. And then these devices, they are carrier agnostic. They are designed to work on all carriers. They're unlocked, so they can be used with any of the carriers, even globally in international carriers. So you just need to find a rep that knows about these devices. Sometimes a carrier has an internal IMEI number that they can use. Maybe it's a store display unit of a mobile hotspot device that they can use to get that plan activated on the SIM card. They just need an IMEI device that is in their database to match up and put on that SIM card.
Mhm.
And if they can do that, then you can just take that SIM card and put it in your Peplink router and it'll work just fine. Now, finding that rep who knows how to do that or knows that they can do that, that's the trick. Sometimes you can find them when you call in for support. If you have a SIM card already, they may be able to work with you that way and remote activate that SIM card. Or you might need to go into a store and find someone who knows how to pick up the hotspot device at their store display, get that IMEI number and use it. The other workaround, if you're getting a lot of pushback on that, you're getting a headache, you're driving to drinking too much, trying to deal with the carriers themselves, the easiest solution is just to buy a hotspot device. Now that seems silly. You just bought, maybe you spent $1,000, $2,000 on a router, and now you're spending a couple $100 on a hotspot device. But that's going to give you a way to activate the plan without going through that hoop. And then you can return that hotspot device with just a restocking fee. Just be prepared. It'll cost you about $50. Or you may actually find that having a hotspot device in your arsenal is not a bad idea. What if the Peplink router goes down? Unlikely, but it could. Or what if you want to have your internet with you away from your RV or boat? You want to go out on a backpacking trip. You want to go into town. You can just move the SIM card out of your Peplink device, put it into that hotspot device, and now you have a battery operated device you can take with you. We like the flexibility of having a hotspot device anyway around just for those sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, and one point of clarification on the Peplink devices, because they do go through actual certifications with the carriers, and we do find a lot of the competitive products may not be Verizon certified or carrier certified. So if the device says it is Verizon certified, using Verizon specifically as the example, it should activate on their network. But Cherie is 100% right that oftentimes that database just hasn't been updated yet. So it can lead to a lot of problems. If you're one of our customers and you work with our data plans, we have escalation points with Verizon to get it added to the database, so it can be done. But it's just an uphill battle, and have your beer ready for the time you'll spend to get that added. But you'll find with a new PepWave that just came out, like the latest 5G version, there was a 4-month period there where it was not Verizon certified. It said certification pending. And when that's the case, you have to do what we call slide activations, put in that IMEI from a hotspot, and then you can just move the SIM card over as Cherie outlined. So it does work. And then for us, at least, when we have a spare hotspot, you can also, if you ever added a second data plan, you can plug that hotspot into the Peplink via the WAN port, and then you can have 2 connections.
Right. We'll be going over that in just a bit.
Certainly not a waste.
The question was, can you just move the SIM card over? And on most data plans, you can. You can just move the SIM card over from the hotspot device to the Peplink router or any other data device you might have without issue. But you need to look at the terms of your data plan. There are some plans that are restricted to a specific device. At present time, like T-Mobile has a 100 gigabyte plan that is only authorized for use in their 5G hotspot devices. That one cannot be moved to other devices. So you do need to look at the terms of the plans to know if you can move that SIM card back and forth. So do that as part of your research and planning your plans, is knowing what the terms are and if you're going to have that flexibility to move your SIM card around between different devices. We do document that in all of our Gear Center entries for the data plans that we are tracking. Now, some data plans, to get them activated in order to set up your online account, may have the carrier required to send you a text message that you get like a code or something. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's a data device. I can't do text messaging on a router or a hotspot. And Eric is going to bring up the screen in the Peplink dashboard where you can actually find your text messages. So you can actually receive a text message from your carrier to help you get this activated.
Yeah, so under advanced, if we scroll down to SIM Toolkit, and then inside our SIM Toolkit, we've got SMS. And if we had an SMS message that was pending, it's checking right now, it would pop up here.
Right.
And that would give us our code and tell us what we needed for that activation.
Right. So anything that you might need, you'll find there. So that's something that trips people up a lot is, they get their data plan, they've got it working, but they have no way to go and renew it or set up their billing for it because they need that SMS message to actually get the account set up. So that's how you would do that.
And we have another guide on firmware updates. If for some reason the SMS is not working, make sure you check your firmware and you're on the latest version.
Right.
There were some SMS issues before.
All right. So next is, let's say you've been an MIA member for a while and you have some of these sweet legacy unlimited data plans that we've covered in the past that are no longer available. So we get the question every so often of which data plans can be used in a hotspot device, in a router, from the plans that we've been tracking for many years. And in the linked guide that goes along with this video, we have them all there with links to care and feeding guides on how to keep these plans activated. But I'll just quickly run down the list of plans that we know to work in Peplink routers. First is the Verizon GUDP. This was a postpaid unlimited smartphone plan that retired back in 2011. It has historically worked on data devices. Verizon has not, well, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. They are getting a little bit enforcing on these plans not working on routers and hotspot devices, but at present time, it still does work. In 2018, Verizon released a prepaid unlimited Jetpack plan that was $65 per month. That one is authorized for all data devices, so you can move that SIM card between other hotspot devices or into cellular embedded routers like a Peplink. AT&T had 2 unlimited hotspot plans also from that era. They started in about 2017. They had one, that connected car or Mobley plan that was in a little onboard diagnostic device. That one is movable into hotspots and routers. We have seen absolutely no enforcement on AT&T on that. And some reps even say, yes, you can use them because the Mobley device is no longer supported. So they're saying, yeah, just use it in hotspot devices and routers. There's also Unlimited Plus, which was a $20 add-on to smartphone plans for hotspot devices, just with 22 gigabytes of network management. Those do work in routers. Just know that the AT&T plans, these legacy plans, are not authorized at this point for 5G. So if you're putting into a 5G router, you're only going to get LTE service. And then I did mention earlier about the T-Mobile 100 gigabyte plan not working in routers. But if you purchase that plan between December 2020 and mid-2021, that plan at that time was authorized for use in routers. So that's the one we use.
4 of them. But
if you purchase that after mid-2021, it will not work in routers. You can only get their lower plan. The next topic, and this will be the last one that we cover in this public version.
Thank you for having all of those, because I have a couple of those as a member, and I wouldn't have been able to even know they existed if it wasn't for you guys being there to tell us. So
that's one thing we do. We are tracking these plans all the times, and sometimes we get heads up that plans are about to retire, and we're able to get information out to our members to say, go get this plan if it's been on your
top. Going away. Yeah, with the
AT&T. So
I think it was AT&T and the T-Mo that it was like, this is your last chance. I think you even had like Friday, and then I think it went an extra day or two, but
yep,
that's invaluable.
I think we're actually with you in Campton, Florida when that T-Mobile plan switched. You're like, Eric, go get it now.
Yeah, we were about, right. That was right before we entered a data drought, like a desert where there was no plans for a few months. And that happens a lot. So where they
it definitely goes.
No good options.
The carriers get competitive and they launch plans, and then they all take them away when they realize, oh, wait a minute, we're giving away too much data. It's stressing our network. So then, yeah, it's been an interesting 8 years tracking this.
Yeah.
All right. So there is, Eric kind of alluded to this earlier, is if you're not finding data plans suitable for your use that can legitimately go on a router, just remember your Peplink has other ways to use other connections. Most of them have an Ethernet WAN port and an 8.3. If you have Prime Care, you're going to be able to, on some devices, to even enable a second WAN port. That's a cool thing. Pay attention as 8.3 comes publicly. That's going to be a cool new feature. And some devices have USB tethering. Well, 2 devices, 3 devices, not many devices, but not enough devices, but they have USB tethering. So if you have a hotspot device or one of these T-Mobile home internet routers or Verizon home internet routers, or even Starlink, you can use Ethernet WAN right into your Peplink router. So these are other ways to get other cellular and Starlink services into your Peplink router. And that Peplink router is a great conductor of all these different WAN sources.
Yeah,
We have
that Balance 20X is the dark horse that now that they're making some upgrades to what it can do. I don't remember exactly how much I'm allowed to talk about, but that is turning into one that's got a lot of ports and options for a very, very
Yeah.
aggressive price point.
Yes, the 20X is a great device. It's got an embedded modem. You can do a modem module. It's got Ethernet WAN ports and USB, plus Wi-Fi as WAN will be enabled in 8.3. So
Yeah,
it's going to
like
be a sweet device, and that's an under
$500,
starts at
right?
like what, 579, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
It's a really well priced device.
yeah, great.
We do have a
Great
guide for
option.
you members to most effectively utilizing multi-WAN features and how to combine multiple sources. So go look at that if you're wanting more information on how to best utilize all these different options. From here, we're going to be ending the public version, the archive that will become public. We will be going with members. We're going over using data plans that are not authorized for use in routers. We'll also be talking more about third-party reseller plans and letting Eric kind of give us a behind-the-scenes look as his experience as being a reseller. And we'll also be covering SpeedFusion's own data plans, which they call Connect LTE. That is data that you can activate anytime you need it around the world, which is kind of a cool feature. So thank you for joining in on this free. If you're watching the archive, enjoy the free content. This is a sampling of what we do every month with Mobile Must Have. And at this point, we will be switching to the member portion. So members, if you want to follow on with the archive of this, skip on down to the next video. These videos are brought to you by our premium members, our mobile internet aficionados. They make it possible for us to track this news and create these videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel, or better yet, consider becoming a member yourself.